I thought it might be fun with this video to do another start to finish walkthrough of my painting process. Just sort of let it play and talk through the steps and some of my thoughts as I was doing it. And the reason why I came up with that on this one is I was just pondering, well, what do I want to talk about with this video of this painting? And I thought, well, I really liked this one. I liked how it turned out, so maybe I'll just talk about it. That might be a fun thing to do. So with this one, I just started as I usually do with thinned down oil paint, kind of a brownish mix of various colors. Get the structure in place. You can see the skeletal structure that I usually use for the base forms. I just kind of rough out the head shape, get the plane of the shoulders, get the plane of the hips, rough out where the limbs are, just kind of position it that way. As usual with oil paints, if you're kind of new to it, one of the great things about it is how flexible it is. You can make a mistake, you can position something incorrectly, and just take a paper towel and wipe it away, and you're good to go. It's like it mostly wasn't there, you can just paint over it. So repetition and flexibility of the paint has given me confidence that I can just dive into it and not have to worry about if I mess up, it's not that big of a deal. So that's been great. So once I have that structure down, as you can see in the video here, I've started to lay down some basic colors. And I try to think of the colors more so in terms of shapes of color, similar color value, so lightness and darkness, and similar hue mixture. Trying to think of those things as shapes and blocks of color, little discrete sections, rather than trying to blend it, try to get the blocks in first over everything. That's something that I'm not always successful with, but I try to keep with that as much as I can, getting those blocks of color in. So for most skin tones, usually I'll put together some kind of mix of yellow ochre, cadmium red, titanium white, burnt umber, raw umber, and burnt sienna. So trying to find some mixture of also ultramarine blue. A lot of shadows. I try to get some ultramarine blue in there as well. So a lot of skin hues and tones and things like that, they come from just those colors, just blending up little, like I'll kind of make a circle on the palette and just sort of blend, like here's like a warmer section, here's a lighter, warmer, darker, warmer, lighter, cooler, darker, cooler, and just sort of have those little bunches on my palette as I'm mixing. I would really like someday to have a more advanced camera setup here where I could not only show you the painting in action, but also show you the palette off to the side as I mix and have those synced up. Honestly, I have no idea how to pull that off technically. I'm clearly not any kind of expert when it comes to this stuff, so like as far as filming and all that stuff, editing video. So hopefully someday I can do that, because I think that would be actually cool to see. I've seen other artists, more proficient artists, do that on their videos, and I think it's really cool. So maybe someday that's something I can do. So once I've got some kind of basic skin sections down, then I like to go into the clothing, usually of the main subject of the portrait. In this case, I was kind of doing a farm scene with a woman in the foreground and a man and a horse in the background. So I tend to focus on kind of the main subject of the painting first and then get into the background. I think that's kind of a natural inclination, just, the subject's in the foreground, so I want to knock that out. So I'll get I approach the clothing pretty much the same way as the skin and the hair, trying not to worry about much more than blocks and zones of color. Eventually I do blend a little bit more, but I really try not to blend much if I can. I really love Impressionists and the Impressionist style. It's something that I really have worked and tried to emulate and tried to carry forward into my paintings. I think that's a natural inclination too, is to try to emulate the types of paintings and the styles of paintings that you like the best. I think that's pretty normal. So I try to do that as well. So once I've got the subject kind of in a basic state, you know, I always come back and add more detail, but the subject in a basic state, then I like to dive into the background kind of. I don't want to get finalized details, particularly around the face and hair, until I have more of the background in, especially the background colors, like the right around the face. Just because some of the detail from the hair and contrast against the subject's face, I like to lean on that background color and have that kind of form a soft, natural barrier there. I say soft just because it kind of blends in with the background paint a little bit, but honestly, like the effect here, it is a kind of a crisp line the way it turned out, like against the subject's cheek there. So maybe the visual effect isn't soft, but it feels that way from a painting perspective, just from the blending. So the background here, I'm trying to get the darker colors in first, try to get the shadows, and then put the light on top of the shadows. I don't know if that is the preferred or like the best practice for this. I feel like I've heard Bob Ross say that on The Joy of Painting, so naturally I try to emulate that a little bit. So I get the darks in first. I think this is mostly sap green mixed with raw umber and I think maybe a little yellow ochre as well to try to, and probably some ultramarine blue in some darker areas. Like that ultramarine blue mixed with raw umber makes a really great, powerful, almost black color that I use for some of my darks, especially in trees. I'll take that combo and add the sap green and it makes a really nice dark green. So I did that here, got those dark portions. One of the things that you'll see as I work through more of the background, I don't think I'm quite there yet on the video, but a little bit by the horse, below the horse, you can see that I've tried to use some purples for shadows instead of trying to emulate that blacker color from the umber and the ultramarine blue. So this one is actually, that purple is alizarin crimson mixed with ultramarine blue to get a purple. And I've found that sometimes that makes a really nice shadow color. And it depends on the piece. It depends on the other colors in the piece if that works or not. But I felt like it did work here. So I definitely leaned on that with the rose and the kind of the crop rose there and the horse's shadows and the man in the background, his shadows as well. So that was kind of nice. I also, one of the things that I sometimes get a little confused about and don't always do the right way is like the far back scenery, towards the horizon. I feel like in other paintings that I've looked at, it's usually a little hazy and a little lighter. I need to observe and study some more of that so that I can actually do it right, because I don't know if I went kind of indistinct enough here. I used a blue for that part near the horizon that is kind of a gray blue. It looks kind of vivid. I don't know if it works or not, but so that's something that probably could stand to have some improvement. I think that at this stage in the painting, it really starts to come together. Obviously, it's not finished yet, and I used to have some inclinations, especially early on when I started painting, to I almost wanted to leave them unfinished, especially if I got into a state where I really liked the way it looked. Like this state right here, the subject looks pretty solid to me, even though it's not completely finished. Early on, I probably would have been tempted to stop here, but I did keep going because I want to emphasize, just in terms of my own practice and my own trying to learn and grow as a painter and as an artist, I need to finish these out more. I need to work on making sure that I don't just drop paintings. I know that one of the an emphasis for me is I need practice. I just need like raw mileage of road traveled with the paintbrush. That's you need to get your work in, essentially. And I know that about myself, so I'm always tempted to just drop paintings too. Like if it's just in a basic good state, drop it, move on to the next one. I've been trying to be better about that and work on actually finishing out paintings, and even some that if I don't really like them that much, like coming back and working on them some more. I may, sometimes paintings don't work out, and that's fine if they don't, but not giving up so fast is something that I'd like to try. So fortunately for me, this painting was not like that. I really do like the way that this one turned out. That's obviously not always the case. I've mentioned in other videos that I feel like I almost alternate every other painting. I like one, and then I don't like the next one, and then I like the next one. It's not always like that, but it really does feel like it's every other painting. In fact, the very next painting I did after this one, I strongly disliked, and I liked this one a lot. So I think that's just kind of how it works for me sometimes. But I feel like, and I hope that the paintings that I don't like will become less frequent over time. Maybe I hope that's true, because I know when again, looking back at when I first started, I definitely disliked more of them than I liked that I created. It was more like I would do 5 of them or something, and then 1 of them I would like. That was really early. That felt like how it was. So I think it's getting better in that sense, but that's maybe not fair, because I think artists are often their worst critics, or at least among their worst critics. So maybe I beat myself up on that one. So regardless, this is one that I really liked, and what I wanted to say is a couple things about what I do like about it, since this video is almost finished. I like the detail. I like the subject. I like the background a lot. I've never painted a horse before, and there's a horse, and I think it turned out okay. It looks kind of like a horse to me. I also really like the background trees. They look kind of nice. And the placement of everything actually worked. I had this concept of what I wanted to do with this, and everything fell into the right place. I don't ever measure these, so sometimes I don't place things in the right area, or sometimes I make the subject too big or the subject too small, but this time it was exactly how I wanted it to be. So that's kind of nice. I consider that to be a big win with this piece. So with that wraps up this painting. If anyone has any questions or wants to comment or has anything to say, I'd love to chat in the comments about these. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you for the next painting.